Coming to do a roll call.
Mrs. Hoover? Here. Dr. Crew?
Here.
Mrs. Cruz? Here. Mr. Krimenacher? Mrs. Krimenacher? Mrs. Lee? Here. Mr. Shell? Mr. Basil?
Here.
Ms. Zenshaw? Here.
Do we have anybody signed up? Ms. Karen?
Tom Lee?
Oh. Mr. Tom Lee, please state your name and your address, please. And you have about 5 minutes. Okay.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Can everyone back there hear me?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, my name's Tom Lee. I live in Bar Township. That's all I'm gonna give you because you don't need to know specifically where I live.
Supposed to state your address.
All right, Dutch Run Road. I have 2 children in school here, so obviously my kids and I belong to this district. All right, so I'm gonna say some things, and before you judge me, I want you to understand my life experience is far greater than anything you all could possibly imagine in your lifetime. I have been to places and seen the very worst in humanity, and I've seen the best in humanity of what people have done for them. So don't just judge me because I live on top of the hill. All right. So my first question after reading a post by one of your lovely board members, I'm not gonna call her out right now, but she knows who she is.
I do.
Yeah, I know. All right, would you allow your child to be coached or taught by somebody who hasn't been cleared or that you haven't vetted yourself? Go ahead.
No.
Oh, no one asked to answer these
This
questions?
is
All right.
This is comment.
Okay, because the last
Okay.
gentleman who was here actually had a discussion. That's my
Comment.
bad. All right, so then when we were waiting for clearances for the volleyball assistant coaches, why was that not discussed in your post and you just placed it pretty generally, basically putting people on blast for not approving it without explaining why it wasn't approved?
I would love
Uh,
to answer
no,
you,
no,
but
no,
I do
no,
have
yeah.
an answer
No.
for that.
Comment only. Comment only.
Okay, so again, it's just wrong. You're using your platform as elected official to misrepresent official proceedings of the school board meeting. And that's, you can shake your head as much as you want, but it doesn't mean you're right. Your smirk just doesn't do anything for you either. I get it, but if she's gonna sit there. All right. So 2, life skills. I have 5 small children. I can tell you right now, based on what that gentleman, I don't remember what his official title was. I'm not having my 2 to 6-year-olds mess with a stove, a fridge, or a microwave. Okay? And whenever he said that per the ADA law, we have to have those items in that class, no, we do not. Per ADA law, those children are supposed to be given the same opportunities as every other child. If we exceed that and we are giving them something that we are not giving a standard student, then it becomes illegal and you're discriminating against those students. And that is per section 504. If you'd like, I can read it to you. And that's per PA's Department of Education. Okay. So I mean, we're grown people here. Like, why are we acting like children? Honestly, like I have much more important things to do in my life than sit there and listen to the back and forth of what I would consider high school kids bickering about stupid crap. That's not even true half the time. Like, grow up. I mean, holy crap, like what I've seen in my life and experienced, this is so minimally insignificant. And the least you could do is be honest about what is happening.
I am honest.
No,
I'm
please.
not gonna be called dishonest.
Hey, you identified yourself.
Comments.
You identified yourself, not me. So, like, you're not being dishonest. You're misinforming people and you're not giving them the full story. Because I mean, do you want me to pull up your post where you don't actually provide any information as to the context of what you were talking
All
about?
teachers and coaches are cleared by the FBI and the Pennsylvania State Police before they are recommended for hiring.
Tom, I'm
You're
gonna,
right.
That
You
is
know what? I
correct.
work for the federal government. I received
Did I?
a background check.
So did
Tom,
I.
thank you for your comments. We're gonna have to end this.
Okay.
It's not getting us anywhere. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna have a presentation by Mr. Taylor Rex for the IGS Energy and a new electricity contract on Zoom.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. For the sake of bandwidth, I'll turn the video off here in just a moment, but I did want to say hello. I know I've met some of the board members, three years ago or so. Is everyone hearing me okay? Okay. So for the sake of time, I will go ahead. It looks like I'm unable to share my screen. Does that feel right? It says the host has disabled screen sharing.
Try that.
Okay, there we go. That is helpful. Okay. Let's see. Okay, can someone give me a heads up that you can see the screen?
Yes, good.
Okay. So I guess real quick background, Roland and Laura and I had gotten together to talk through the upcoming renewal for electricity supply for the district. Good story to tell there, but more importantly, I wanted to start a little bit about who your current supplier is for electricity for the district, and how this relationship came to be. So IGS, we're a 36-year-old family-owned, privately held energy supplier. Our headquarters is in Columbus, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus, Dublin. I have personally been with the company for 12 years. Been working with the district for a little over 4. And the current contract is coming off of a fixed product here at the end of the year. So the discussions that Laura, Roland, and myself had been in were really regarding the upcoming spend and the impact to the 2025 budget. So I wanted to share those arrangements with you, give you a little background. All of the accounts are currently with IGS on a specific product that we had basically gotten together and been strategic to align on last term, which is the same product we'll be aligned on moving forward. The contracted term previously that was put in place was a 32-month agreement, which again expires at the beginning of 2025, as you can see there with the term. So
Could you do a presentation mode? We're just seeing the first slide.
oh, really? Okay, give me a second. Sorry, Zoom is not my platform, so I'll have to bear with me a little bit here. I appreciate you chiming in though, not letting me get through all of it. Let's go.
Just want to do the PowerPoint as a presentation and then.
Yep.
Okay,
Are you seeing that now?
I'm seeing that slide, yes.
All right. For the sake of not screwing that up again, we'll go ahead and focus on slide by slide. If
Okay.
everyone can see. So back to IGS, just a little bit more information for the board for those of you curious about our standing. IGS, again, 36 years in business and counting, and the largest family-owned and privately held supplier in the country. Another highlight here on the current arrangements, you guys are expiring here in January of 2025 at a contracted rate of 7.65 cents per kilowatt hour, with the capacity and transmission portion exclusive on that product. So jumping into the renewal term, to keep things as high level as possible, the IGS recommended term length is looking even slightly longer than the 32-month term that was in place last go round, mostly for the fact that energy pricing is simply lower. You're looking at a wholesale electricity market that has trended downward from 2022. And looking forward, you're looking at a year over year, annualized cost change of anywhere from 14 to 17%. On the exact same product and that you guys are set up on today. So a relatively easy lift for the future looking forward. Candidly, you're seeing a slightly higher price and slightly lessened percentage cost change the further out you look. So if you're looking at those options, you see they get slightly higher in the future. That isn't because there's an embedded premium in those products. That is simply because the cost of wholesale electricity is higher in those future terms. So our assessment of what is going to happen in the market and the fundamentals suggest that we're going to see an increasing cost environment the further out that we look in these curves. A lot of that has to do with increasing demand and the lack of generation to cover that demand. There is any questions just initially on as we've gone through? Again, I believe the savings themselves are pretty straightforward from the product to product specific. But I did want to nail down slightly with a quick update on the industry specific piece that has changed that will impact everyone paying an electricity bill starting June of 25. So just a brief moment of education on that side. The reason that we're on the product we're on with the district is because we have the ability to control the capacity tag, which is a portion of what goes into your capacity cost as a whole. So that is something that Roland has been managing with the help of his facilities team and Laura. And that is something we've been driving down year over year, which has helped reduce the spend. Now, capacity rate is set by the grid operator. And the grid operator is called PJM. They operate in a 13-state footprint. And those costs have gone up significantly starting in June of next year. This is just a brief kind of visual of that cost. It is actually a cost impact of 600% to the existing for clearing prices that were set. The impact overall, while it does flow through to the overall cost for the district, still equates to a cost reduction regardless of term length. So that annualized cost reduction, while it's not as high as what it would have been without this capacity increase, wholesale electricity is down in a close to $20,000 decrease in spend. When you look at and factor in the all-in perspective of that capacity cost, you're still looking at a savings, which is relatively unique for other folks that are in the same situation. So the fact that we're still able to drive a year-over-year savings out of 2025 is a testament to the product that we put in place, over 32 months ago now, and the work that's been going in from the folks at the district on the district level over the summers when those capacity costs are calculated. So happy to report, that the change in spend is going to be on the positive for the district and putting some dollars back into the budget. I think next steps from my perspective that I've discussed with the team internally, we kind of determine a term length, and that is, at the urging of the district to, hey, whatever you're most comfortable with. There's no agenda from an IGS perspective, and then we get paperwork in place and get that renewal proactively put to bed. So again, recommended term lengths are 47 to 59 months from an IGS perspective. While it doesn't necessarily maximize your short-term cost, IGS feels that the fundamentals suggest that it will benefit the long-term cost for the district, as we expect wholesale electricity costs to increase year over year. So with that, I can kind of take questions, or Laura, I'm not sure exactly your thoughts on next steps from my end, what you need from me. Floor is open, I guess.
Well, I guess we had talked about looking at the different terms and the difference in prices. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure, happy to. So the overall terms and the prices, and I mentioned earlier we're in what's called a contango market environment. And what that essentially means is that wholesale electricity costs, as well as natural gas costs, in the future outer years are currently being traded and are priced more expensive than the short-term cost. The reason being, the short-term cost has been subject to the last two warmer than normal winters. And those two warmer than normal winters have really pushed pricing down due to that kind of demand destruction during the winter months. So wholesale costs are more realistic in the longer term. And we're going to be in an environment moving forward where we're seeing higher cost of energy in the future, with capacity being a small snapshot of that. But that is why our recommendation lies in a longer term strategy, because those wholesale electricity costs are trending upward. And we feel that taking advantage of them while there's a savings at play is in the best interest of the district.
And I think Roland was looking at, was it the 3-year?
So he had initially looked at, alignment on the 36-month term, which again, I support completely. I don't see anything, inhibiting that term. I think previously you guys had looked at a 32-month term. I think our recommendation of a slightly longer term isn't necessarily set in stone. It's really whatever the district is comfortable with.
So I can share your PowerPoint with the board members. And then
Okay.
when do we need to have a decision made on this?
Yeah, so I think the market and the environment that we live in with electricity and natural gas, specifically electricity here, it's kind of a moving target, right? So it trades every day like a stock. The price every single month for the next several years trades daily. But I think if you guys are able to put a decision in, within the next, I call it by the end of the week, I'd feel confident in the pricing that we're putting forward tonight. And, generally speaking, pricing is as good as we can offer and extend. I know that's a bit of a vague answer, but as it relates to market movement and pricing and things like that, I want to be able to honor the pricing that we're sharing tonight.
Sure. Well, probably the quickest that this board may decide to do that would not be till the middle of this month.
Okay.
So
So
I can ask for updated pricing then as
Sure.
they make a decision as to what they wish to do.
Yeah, and candidly, I think for Laura, for you and for the board, there may be no movement in energy pricing, and there may be some ebbs and flows before I hear from you again, and we may be right back in the same environment we are. But once you guys align on a term length that makes the most sense for you and the board members, I think it's just a matter of refreshing that term, making sure we can still execute at or near the level that we've presented tonight. And I would give you updated budget numbers for the upcoming year in the document that I shared previously, and we could get something kind of signed off on when you guys are ready.
Hey Taylor, this is Mike Basil. I had a couple quick questions.
Sure.
Can you clarify, and I don't know if it's a simple explanation just on what are considered controllable tags, and then just two other leading questions. One is, if we are doing a consolidation, like if we're buying like these future contracts or whatever these are,
Yeah.
What if our usage goes down, say like 20%? Does it matter? Like, are we paying for so many kilowatts, or how does the contracts work if our usage goes down?
Yeah.
And then we also talked at one point about doing a solar contract potentially. I mean, I don't know if it's something we would even venture to, but we had a presentation about a year ago. If we went down that road, then we had this signed for a commitment for this pricing. Is there some type of usage agreement for that?
Yeah, great questions. I appreciate it. I think I remember seeing you at the board meeting a few years back, and maybe I'm off on that, but I believe I do. Anyway, so to answer the easiest one first, the usage variance, if you guys were to use more or less electricity throughout the agreement, there aren't any penalties associated with that. You guys aren't tied to a specific volume. We estimate based on your historical usage, and we normalize based on what's a normal year of weather. But you're not tied to those volumes. So if you use less, you're still going to pay your per kilowatt hour price. So hopefully that puts you guys at ease. I know there was talks of some consolidation of a meter, which would be totally fine with the contract in place.
We're going through a consolidation project right now for the school district. That's why I was just curious.
Yep. Nope. And Roland and Laura had actually brought that up, and I had meant to touch on that. So I appreciate the question. The controllable tag piece, that is something that, so without getting too deep into the weeds, when I mention your rate, your capacity cost is calculated by your tag values, which are specific to each account, and the capacity rate that's set by PJM or the grid operator. The former, so the capacity tags, are calculated annually, and the utility Penelec calculates those tags based on the 5 hottest days of the summer, also known as the highest demand days of the year. So what we do on those days is provide notice to Roland and the district, and Roland does everything within his power and effort to curtail load, shut things down, and generally it's pretty easy to do in the summer.
Not in this summer.
Yeah, so it doesn't impact the students. We're not sweating kids out in the schools or anything like that, but it is helpful to the tax.
Okay, I think I do recall that actually. Now we'll say that
Because if you'll recall, in the last contract, you guys we're being offered a fully fixed product with those tag values fixed. And the previous year, those days were set, 3 of those days were set in September when you actually had students and could do nothing about that tag value being high. So we've been driving that cost down over the years, which has been to the benefit of the district.
Okay, I think that helps. Thank you.
Yeah, and lastly, to answer your question on the solar piece, so solar projects, especially in the state of Pennsylvania, have not necessarily been economically viable. I know that in most presentations that you're seeing or have seen in the past few years, there's escalating adders involved, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to these things. As your energy partner, IGS, we do have a solar arm in a solar business internally. And I'm happy to help you guys navigate any of those discussions as you go forward. But candidly, and to be as straightforward as possible, those haven't made sense quite yet, especially for the school district kind of vertical. I think at the end of the day, when and if those opportunities come about, and if they do start making sense, especially with increasing capacity costs down the road, it is something that will help you guys navigate, and we'll be sure to help kind of put something in place that makes the most sense, or be a steward of making sure that you guys are taken care of and not signing something you'll regret. Okay, no, that helps. I think it seems like the solar needs to be subsidized or something it seems like to make it a lot of times, but that helps. That's all I really needed. Okay, thanks, Mike. So I think good action item for me is to connect following this discussion with Laura and better understand where the board's appetite is as far as term length goes on the next agreement, to go ahead and proactively secure that reduction to the overall spend starting in 2025. Laura, does that track with what you were thinking, or is there anything else that you need from me?
Fine. I don't know if the board wishes to discuss that tonight, or rather discuss that the next meeting. What would you like?
How long was our last term?
The last term was 3 years, right?
32 months. Yep, that's right.
Has that been our trend?
Yeah, the previous agreement, I believe, was a 48-month term coming out of a lower price environment. So we were walking into a higher price environment, so we limited that term. But walking into this next term, again, we're guaranteeing a savings. So that was kind of why my recommendation laid in a longer term solution. So there's a 35, a 47, and I believe a 58-month term, which again makes no difference to IGS in the sense of duration. It's more of what you guys are comfortable with.
I have a question. Is there a law that we have a provider that's separate from the generator? Like a home, you don't have to have a provider. You can do it straight from Penelec.
You most certainly can. There is nothing that makes you choose a supplier.
Why do we do that?
Well, you do that because Penelec and their default service rates, by law, they're a electricity lines company, right? They're making money on the delivery of electricity. So they're not incentivized to go out and procure electricity in a strategic way for customers. They're passing on costs to customers. So because of that lack of incentivized purchasing, those default programs have historically been much higher than what you're able to go and do through third-party supply.
And can you clarify, Taylor, what was the kilowatt rate is it at 7 point something?
7.65 cents per kilowatt hour.
Is your company the only bill we write, the check we write for electricity supply, or do we write one to you and one to Penelec?
Yeah, another good question. So Penelec is, they have a monopoly on all customers as it relates to their power lines. So you are subject to, if you live in an area that Penelec serves, you will always pay Penelec for delivery of the electricity. What you have a choice in is the generation or supply of that electricity. And so that is where IGS comes in, and we actually bill on the Penelec invoice. And so you'll see we're replacing the default service cost from Penelec, and you're seeing a discounted supply or generation rate from IGS.
And Roland will have that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Taylor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, and I will circle back with Laura and make sure we have a good idea on term length. But I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Taylor.
Right. We'll go into the administrative report, superintendent.
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay, principals, elementary. Can you see over that TV or,
I can.
okay,
You want me to stop?
no, as long as everybody can see you, we're fine.
Just wanted to let everyone know we had a successful open house, successful open school year, but the open house was great. We had many parents come into the building and heard a lot of positives about the building itself, and it was just nice to have parents visit. During open house, actually here in the auditorium, we had a clothing giveaway. We brought in a lot of our accumulated clothes from the Polk store or from the Polk closet and some other donations that we had. And the parents really appreciated it. So that, I'm really glad that we did that. And that was Mrs. Lichty, our social worker. She initiated that. So I'd like to thank her for doing that. It was very successful. I'd also like to thank Evansburg State Center. They donated backpacks full of supplies for our students. There were some clear backpacks, but most of them are not. So the middle and high school students will be able to utilize those. I'm sure Mrs. Brent going to talk about the healthy snack program starting up. So I will skip that. Our weekend food program will begin on Friday, September 13th. So the students that are eligible will be able to take their food home, take a bag home. And the other thing I wanted to mention, the last thing, very, very happy. I have to commend the parents on the clear backpacks, kindergarten through 4th grade. About 96% of our students have them already and came in with them. And I'd also like to report that where are they cute? They've really come a long way. They're decorative. Most of the kids have clear. Some of them have mesh. And believe it or not, I know at our town hall, we had a parent say they like to buy heavier duty ones and Vera Bradley. Well, Mrs. Gibbons ran into a Vera Bradley clear backpack at the outlet, so even Vera Bradley's on board. But I would just like to commend the parents because, again, almost all of our students have a clear backpack. And those that don't, social worker is going to start making calls to see if it's a financial issue or, you know, we'll go from there. Thank you for your support. Any questions? Oh, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, middle school.
Hello. I also just want to reiterate what Dr. Tibbetts said, that the school year has started out very well, up and running with no problems whatsoever. So, you know, we've had to adjust a couple things with our movement in the hallway. Our students are used to playing cafeteria for last year. So that's probably the biggest challenge with the rest for me during lunchtime. We have to come all the way down for the bathroom like this for a couple weeks. You'll be fine. We had a wonderful 5th grade orientation night. Our open house turnout wasn't so successful in middle school, but once I think they've been here for a year, you know, we don't really need to feel the need to come to open house in grade 6, 7, 8, but all of the parents came to the 5th grade orientation. So that was wonderful. One of our new PDIS incentives this year is our mobile Colt cart. So we've always given our kids full cash, things like that, but this year they actually get to, I compare it to an ice cream truck, like, you know, you hear those bells and they get all excited. So they hear the wheels going down the hall and they're like, look, cart's coming. They get to buy all kinds of popular items that they love. So that's been really, really nice. The new administrative policies that we are reinforcing this year with the clear water bottles and cell phones being kept in their lockers has been going extremely well. As I've done random checks, I have not seen one student on a cell phone. I've asked the teachers, how's it going? They're like, it's wonderful. Their attention is great. Their participation in class is great. They said they could just when a student would feel their phone buzz, even though maybe it's in their pocket or something, they feel it, they're just immediately like thinking about it, so that's gone away. And finally, I would just like to thank all of you once again for allowing me to attend that summit conference at the beginning of August as a new principal. It was wildly beneficial. I'm so grateful to Mrs. Green for recommending me to go to that. Some of the sessions that I found particularly helpful to myself were communicating your way to stronger leadership and elevating educator growth. Those were two sessions that really, I felt would be great for me to share, along with many others, those two particularly. So thank you again for that.
Thank you. High school.
Hello, I'm gonna start with the principal conference as well, and thank you for sending me. One of the great ones that I attended at the meeting was talking about career planning for our high schoolers and the directions they're going in, and some models from other school districts. Those are definitely, teachers and principals are great at stealing things from each other, so when you see things that are already good, borrow those, and you make those connections, so we are looking at some of those things. I also want to say thank you, all of our new initiatives are going well, clear water bottles are not an issue. Thank you to the parents and students for cooperating with all that. Our cell phones are a little bit tougher. I'd like to say that I'm doing as well with the middle school. We are not. We've got some bumps, but we will get there. So they are trying to keep them in lockers, and sometimes that's working, sometimes that's not, but we will. I don't know. But we're working on it. We'll get there. I also want to say a big thank you to Annette Krumenacher, just to do it publicly, for taking care of all of our orders and distributing all of our supplies over the summer months. That is a really huge job, and we stop here all summer long. She has boxes stacked, I don't know, taller than she is sometimes, and she's getting them where they need to go and keeping inventory and everything, and it seems to run very, very smoothly. Something that she takes care of it in a heartbeat, so thank you to her. Our foreign travel club, we have a meeting on Wednesday, September 18th at 6 p.m. in the high school cafeteria to relaunch the Mediterranean tour to Italy, France, Monaco, and Spain for June of 2025. This will include a new lower price and many discounts and promotions. If you're interested, you are encouraged to attend this meeting. The marching band and Mr. Montanaro would like to thank the board for allocating funds for earning uniforms. They look sharp, and they were the buzz at the Indiana County Fair. If you haven't seen them, they look sharp. They look really, really good, and our band front looks awesome as well. The marching band also had a very successful performance at our home opener, as well as the Indiana County Fair on Tuesday, August 27th. Our next non-game performance will be at the Pope Court Fair on Monday, September 9th at 7 p.m. And the National Honor Society is sponsoring a blood drive on September 30th in the high school gym. Thank you.
Thanks.
Lee, can I just say one comment? Lisa, I was gonna tell you we were at, West Shamokin last night for the volleyball game. I took a picture of these lockers they had for the cell phones. I have no idea what the cost would be or anything, but they were the slickest thing. They were, did you take a picture too? But
Yep.
They had like a glass, they were stackable, probably 10 per row. They had a key card you would slide, then you would get I think you got to sign a number, and each locker was lockable only by that student. They had a power cord in it to keep their phone charged. I mean, they were slick. I have no idea what they cost.
They
or
were cell phones or for Chromebooks?
Cell phones.
Cell phones,
And I love
interesting.
Well, maybe Chromebooks too, I guess. I don't know,
Yes,
you know,
I've
they
seen
were,
those, I've seen those lockers.
they were
with
slick.
Chromebooks.
so, but you could slide a card down so they could unlock their locker only, and it was pretty slick. So,
The charging aspect would be huge for high schoolers.
Why don't you call them and ask?
again, I took a picture.
Or someone.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a call. I want to tell you about it, 'cause boy, that's pretty slick. I've seen the magnetic bags too that the kids have, they tuck them in, but this was another way.
It looked like you access it with a key card, so maybe there's a timer, and at certain times you can have it, and certain times you can't, but it was locked. And each station had a charging cord within, I forget what it's called, I wrote it down in one of these.
Was it at their individual lockers?
No,
It was at a certain
it was
centralized
a
place?
central, yes. And it was
In their
glass,
lobby?
it was like a glass, yeah, right near the lobby, off the side of the lobby
I
by
was
the
gonna
gym.
say, it's all open in there, so.
It was off the side door of the gymnasium,
Yeah.
so if you come in that front entrance and you go to the right and around, it's over there, and they were these big cases. I think they might have had wheels, but I mean,
Where
we weren't gonna break into
What-
it.
And they wouldn't have been enough for the entire school, so I don't know if they have them. I don't know, maybe they're only intended for maybe in their gym,
Or maybe they
They're
have them
slick.
in other areas for
Yeah.
other grades, but it was neat.
just another, yeah. I think cell phones in general are becoming more, it's prevalent, people don't want them in their classrooms, so they're coming up with more alternatives.
Anything else? Okay, and we can do anything for Roland? We all got our things in the email, so if you need anything else. Okay, cafeteria.
Good evening. Over summer, nutrition hosted a professional development day for the cafeteria staff. And then I hosted an opening meeting, on the first week we started back. So all of the cafeteria staff now has their continuing education hours for the 24-25 school year. I have attended, summer seminar for TNG, and then I did a reveal day with them. So I have all of my continuing education hours for this school year as well. One of the last steps of our administrative reviews was that our field advisor came in to review the summer feeding program over the weeks that we had summer feeding. And there were no violations. She commended us on the wonderful cleanliness and organization of the kitchen that we had at the high school. So that is kudos to Mrs. Patrisco, Mrs. Sodmont, and Jess and his staff for making sure that the building was clean and ready to go for summer feeding. A couple of new things, we are starting to bring in a lot more products this school year that are new to us, Jif peanut butter. We're also bringing in strawberry jam for peanut butter and jelly sandwiches instead of just the grape. We're also bringing in boba, bubbles for refreshers for lemonade and iced tea refreshers, and we're going to start that at the high school. You have to have an acquired taste for the buns, yes, you do. Ciabatta buns are something new that we will be menuing this school year. And again, like Dr. Tippett had mentioned, we will be starting our fruit and veggie program. We received the grant again, and it was around $17,000, I believe, that we will be having fruits and veggies for 3 days during the weeks, and we're starting that September 17th. So look forward to this school year.
Thank you.
Right, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Cron, what grades get snacks?
It's elementary school,
So
so
K through fourth?
it's kindergarten through 5th grade,
Fifth grade.
or 4th grade, sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. And you said it was the high school cafeteria that got.
yes.
Okay, maintenance.
A couple things I can update you on. Stadium sound system, we should get the part they respected in this afternoon or tomorrow for that, bad speaker. So we'll get that, hopefully resolved here tomorrow, maybe by Friday. He felt pretty confident that a couple little diodes or whatever was in there, but probably shorted out through the water. Should be resolved, that should take care of our issues, so we'll get that put back up, hopefully by Friday, because then it's not first of the week. So we'll address that. Since the last meeting, 3K carpet was installed in the 3K room, it's very nice. Also, the electric fan motor in there was removed and ordered, that's supposed to be in tomorrow morning, so we got put back in, and that room should be pretty well underway. Currently waiting on a second visit from Cummings to work on the high school generator. The gentleman was out the other day, thinks possibly a bad circuit board in there, and we had an issue with it, during testing, it won't fire the generator, so, we had some things tested, he's gonna bring a more specified, or specialized technician out, and, see if we can get that resolved. I got elevator inspections coming tomorrow morning for both buildings. Also up at the high school, worked yesterday and today on, the water leak up there and that walk-in cooler. Found a plug condensate line, got that figured out, read copy outside of the seam between the building and the over top of the cafeteria room for that unit that. So between both those issues, we should have water issue. So we'll keep an eye on that. Have the annual fire alarm test being scheduled for October 14th. So keep that on mind. Looking over, we had some cold mornings, so kind of got me in the mood to look at some of our winter equipment. So I've kind of been spending a couple hours on that, seeing where we are, so that comes already. I took the dump truck out today. I'm up to BMT. I have a couple leaking hydraulic lines. Shouldn't be anything too radical, but it's pumping out hydraulic fluid faster than I can raise the bed. So can't have that to be dump it solved. So tractor seems to be pretty good. with the salt spreader, the plow, I think I'm gonna get a little work done on that. We do have some time, but I just want to be a little proactive on some of those things. So try to get another year or two out of what we have on the site. So other than that, just our normal, day-to-day issues.
How's the new tractor working out that you guys got second
So
year?
far, great.
No problems?
Working real nice. Thank you again.
No, it's what we needed.
Anything else?
Anything else, guys? No?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all. Okay, we'll go to buildings, grounds, cafeteria. Good, Carol.
Okay, building project update. I'll let Nick do the update because we just got a report from him.
It's behind us. I have no idea.
Laura, why isn't that one working?
I don't know. And we're frozen here too.
I guess we're good. Why don't you just go ahead and talk?
Yeah.
Go ahead and give us an update.
All right, well, I don't have any of the normal pictures that are graphs or anything to show you, but we did get sure that helps. I'll talk through high level though, but we have, thanks, Libby.
I'm gonna try to show.
For
Sorry. See.
the phase 2 area first, so kids were able to come back, no issues there. So that was turned over to the district along with the kindergarten playground area in the pre-K room. That was all turned back over. Work continues on the classroom addition. The first floor slab on grade is poured. Second floor is poured as well. The roof decking is all on. We had a roof pre-installation meeting in preparation for the installation of that roof. There's temporary drains installed for that roof. So once the roof is installed, the water has somewhere to go temporarily. Over in areas A, B, and C, which is also phase 2, the weight and fitness room are nearly completed. The band room, chorus room, art room, those are nearing completion as well. The casework has been installed, ceilings are painted, walls are painted. Floor finishes need to be installed yet, and some other minor things, but we're very close to having those completed as well. The gym extension, they excavated for the footings and foundations there. Forms were installed, rebar was installed. They began pouring that, I believe, tomorrow. The remainder of the footings and foundations should be poured along with the piers. After the piers and footings cure, we can put the columns in. Once the columns are set, then that large truss can be installed. After that, the masonry walls will be laid. Looks like we do have that PowerPoint working now. We should be able to skip. Well, if you want to go to the third slide, there's some pictures there. If anybody wants to see that, just kind of an update, that would be for site work. One thing I also skipped over, the rear parking area is completed. All of that paving, the curbs, the rear embankment is done, and that's seeded and strawed as well. The top left is a picture of the kindergarten playground area. The handrails are installed there. At this point, they are all painted. Bottom left is the rear parking area. At this point, all of the line striping is done. The light poles will be set after we receive them. The top right photo is just asphalt patching in some of the trenches that were previously removed. And the bottom right photo is the excavation for the footings and foundations for the gym extension. Talked about that. Here's some pictures of that classroom addition. Top left is the first floor, slab poured. The bottom left is the second floor. And then the right's just a picture. You can see all the roof decking and everything completed. Talked about the phase 2 area D renovations that's been turned over. There's some photos of it. Completed classrooms, toilet rooms. This is what I was just talking about. We're nearing completion over there. Ceilings are being installed as well, light fixtures, final mechanical, electrical, and plumbing connections. just some trim out flooring, and that again should be back over to the district shortly. There's some pictures. The top left is the casework that's turning out really nicely. Bottom left is some doors in the new band and chorus room that were installed and patched back in. Top right, ceilings going in, and the bottom right is one of the exposed ceilings that's painted. Everything will be pulled off there and the wiring cleaned up and whatnot, but that'll be the general look of the ceiling. Lighting needs to be installed in that room yet. Phase 3, we talked about that as well. One thing I did skip over though was the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, that was turned over. We got temporary occupancy for that on August 21st as well. The serving portion of it, the storage rooms are pretty much completed. In the toilet rooms, we're still working on ceramic tile. After that's installed, ceilings can be installed, grills, registers, and diffusers. And just the final touches after that, and then that can be turned back over to the district. We will need to get an inspection in there for temporary occupancy in that space as well. We'll turn back over. Cafeteria toilet room. There's some pictures there of the tile in those bathrooms. The boiler room, top right's a picture of just some work that's been installed in there, new conduit. The pumps are here. That's gonna be an ongoing thing, probably into the next summer after this heating season. Bottom right's the cafeteria. Talked about the gym as well already. There's just some more pictures of that, footings. The schedule update number 6 was issued a few weeks ago with a date of August 7th. So at this point, that's already about a month behind where we currently are right now. At that point in time, phase 1, the classroom addition is still, it's ahead of schedule. Final inspections as of now are scheduled for March 11th of 2025. The substantial completion date on the baseline schedule was July 1st of 2025. So we're in pretty good shape there. Phase 2 area D was turned over. Phase 2 area A, B, and C. Final inspections as of schedule update number 6 was October 7th. We should have that much sooner than October 7th, within the next couple of weeks, correct? Phase 3, that's turned over as well, except for the toilet rooms in the cafeteria. But, 8/21, we got temporary occupancy everywhere else. Cafeteria is still ongoing, mentioned that. And phase 4, the baseline shows the final inspections for that area on January 31st of 2025. Right now, schedule update number 6 is showing February 25th of 25. So that's about a month behind currently. The contractors are aware of this, and we are going to be pushing to get that turned over to the district as it's shown on the phasing plan. I believe the phasing plan shows it being turned over on February 3rd of 2025. Here's an update on the payment application summary. Received invoices from everybody this month. That's also included in the monthly report if you want to review that in greater detail. Project challenges, an update on the Caisson remobilization fee. We did receive a response from Fiore on that. We need to review that. I need to review that with the architect, and then we'll bring that back to the district, and hopefully we can work that out to a fair agreement. Fire service line drawings were issued for that. That's where we may need to add, or we do need to add a vault for the water service coming onto the site. We're awaiting pricing on that. And the locker room sanitary lines, that's complete at this point. They only needed to do the 2 rooms. They did not need to do the 3rd room. And they were able to get fall on that pipe and kind of work everything back out at this point. That's backfilled, concrete's poured. It'll be ready for tile whenever we have a price for that that's ready for the board to vote on. Change management log, this is an update. This is also in the monthly report if you want to review it in greater detail. I appreciate all of there's a lot of outstanding ones at the last update. At this point, everything's been executed. So that's greatly appreciated so that the contractors can get paid for that. One thing I would like to know with the credits received in addition to the ad, the original contingency amount was $650,000. Right now with the credits, we're floating, we've used 2,600, I can't see in great detail, but 2,800, I think, and some change. So we're sitting in a really good spot there. There's 647,000 and some change dollars left in that contingency fund. This is items that we are tracking or currently under review. No pricing associated with any of these items, because we either don't have it yet or it has not been reviewed for its validity. Again, this is in the report. You can review that in detail if you would like. Any questions?
The rear parking area, the drainage, has that been resolved there? I know there were a couple inlets that were either setting too high, they weren't taking water like they should. Is that taken care of?
I'm not aware of any inlets that are sitting above the elevation of the asphalt. Regarding the drainage back there,
Everything's working.
well, it was installed at the elevations shown on the drawings. I'm not sure. I know when we had that really bad rainstorm, there was water everywhere. I think I spoke with Jeff about that, but I'm not sure if we've been having any other major issues.
I haven't really ranked like that hard since we had that. but-
Yeah, and that was kind of an anomaly with the amount of rain that we got. Any other questions?
No, we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. I don't think so. Dave, you don't have any input. All right, well, we talked about the stadium sound system already with Jeff, so.
Does anybody need to say anything else on that since Jeff gives it there? Okay.
Okay, item D is tile replacement. And Nick and I and Laura, we had done a walkthrough at our last team meeting. And there is some tile in the locker rooms that are broken, that they're sticking up, they're a tripping hazard. And so Nick has some pictures of that and he will share them with the board because you don't have them right now. But he was gonna have Dave go through and mark out the areas that we have. They're not just in the locker rooms where the tile, with the sewer line was being fixed. It's all, there's several locker rooms. So they were gonna come up with an area where the tile needs fixed and they'll have something, they'll get with, I guess you'll get with Hank on the type of tile or the colors of tile.
Yeah, so there's the ceramic tile in those locker rooms. We've already selected matching tile. It's a pretty good match. It doesn't look like the other patches that have previously been done in there. It's much closer than those. So we have that tile selected already. At this point, like you mentioned, it would just be a matter of identifying problematic areas, getting square footage of each of those areas, and then we can put a red box on a drawing or something like that, mark it up, give it to the contractors for pricing to remove and correct that, and then bring that pricing to the board.
Right,
That would be changing.
it would be a change order,
Yeah, so we're hoping by the next meeting, we'll have those numbers for you.
and it depends on the numbers from the contractors, because you have to get those after you have the areas marked out.
So for the next meeting, we'll have the patching that needs done because of the sanitary lines. That's, we'll definitely have that. But we'll work on getting pricing for whatever amount of square footage we come up with for the problematic areas that we looked at, whether it's deteriorating or raised up or anything like that.
Okay, thanks. Oh, with the moving,
Yeah, they do that now, because it's between meetings.
oh, okay.
If they should.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Laura, you brought up something about change orders and moving. And I think you talked to Jeff about, or Nick about that, correct?
Talk to Nick, Dave, and Jeff.
All right. Where do we stand on that?
Since this is gonna be between the two meetings and it needs to be done, I figured we should bring it up right now, so. Once you go,
Sure, so, what we decided, or what we've discussed, is that we need to move very quickly into the next phase. And we need to empty some rooms, move teachers, move the library. And the best way to do that efficiently is to hire some skilled workers to help us do that. So Dave was able to get us a dozen workers, and I did pose this to Jeff, and we just don't have the manpower, unfortunately, to be able to do that, correct, Jeff? Yes, so, we could have our own workers do it, but it might take a week, 2 weeks, and we don't want to hold the project up. So we did get some pricing. We're looking now, the exact price, hoping will not be more than $7,000. So we're looking at 12 skilled laborers for 8 hours, a foreman. And we have the option to use Saturday if we need to, but we're really hoping that we don't need anything more. The plan is to get everything done on that day. Dave, do you want to address a little bit?
If I could just say that it is a daunting task to try and get teachers moved out of their areas, their equipment, teaching materials, desks, chairs, to go with them to their new locations or temporary locations, and then get that stuff taken care of out of the building. Right now, there's a lot of things in this building that haven't been used in years. We gotta be selling. Are we selling it or are we keeping it? We can't keep any more, there's no more room. Right now, we don't have enough room for temporary teaching areas, and the principals can attest to that. We're just out of room. The only room we have is really right here. And you can see we have stuff stored in here. The thought was to get some laborers here. I've got contacts with some more C-can containers. We're gonna get 5 C-can containers out in the parking lot. As we fill them with desk, chairs, casework that we don't need, we can get them off site, store them, take them to the high school, put them in the parking lot for a future sale or dispose of them however the district feels. The items that we will keep, we're going to tag, put in C-can containers to bring back into the building once it's completed. That's why I requested skilled laborers, because all that shop equipment is heavy. We need dollies, jacks to move that table saw, the lathe, all that kind of stuff is heavy. The average custodian probably would take them a lot longer. If I can get 12 laborers here from a contractor in a day, I think we can move everything.
Okay.
That was my request.
so you're gonna have to guide us on this. So this is not on this cow. It's not listed on the cow meeting, and it's supposed to happen before the regular voting meeting next time. Okay, so do you think this is gonna be under $10,000?
Yes,
Okay, so we already gave the building and grounds to approve that, but it still has to be voted on at the next meeting. Are we okay to add that without it being on this right now?
Yes, you can add that to the next agenda and ratify
Okay.
your decision to approve that.
Right.
the
that's what we
intent
want.
is to do all this next Friday,
Okay.
so the teachers can occupy their
Good with
new
that,
spaces on Monday.
Jeff, you're good with that? Cause it won't tell you the people then. Okay, you guys all good with that?
Be better.
It'll disrupt school function if we don't do it that way, correct?
Should we, because it's timely, just adjust the
Well-
agenda, amend it tonight?
No, you don't have
It's
to.
not necessary. You guys already voted to give Carol
Yeah.
the authority to approve that.
We just have to
Okay,
vote on it. at
You'll
the
have
next
to
meeting.
ratify it at the following.
Okay,
right, if Carol's good with that.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we put that on the next agenda to vote on it then. Okay. Thank you.
And if I could just add, and I said it's a daunting task, so myself, the principal, the custodial staff, Jeff, it's a lot to try to get together to do this next phase. And it's gonna be better in the long run, because now we're gonna be working in specific areas rather than the last phase, we were jumping around too much. Now we can kind of flow right through the next area, and this area that we're gonna be in next is gonna be the connecting links, the old building to the new addition, so it's gonna help everybody. It's just gonna go faster.
It's not on the agenda because anybody have any questions on that? Okay, okay, we're good. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Okay.
I'm not.
Principal.
Appraisal of the high school. Progress on the appraisal of the high school, or,
Yes, I can update you on that. Roland and I have been going back and forth with the appraiser And she requested to have specific square footage of the different areas that we had. So I was able to give that to Hank. Actually, Roland gave those to Hank, the pictures, and Hank just provided those for me today. So I forwarded those to the appraiser. She now has the square footage for each of the different areas that we wanted, and I'm waiting to hear from her as to when she'll come to do it. But she
Okay,
wanted
'cause
that.
I also had talked to Ginger today, and it was probably before you gave her the areas, because she told me that's what she was waiting for.
Okay,
And, the one thing that she did ask is, she said, if there are students that are gonna be in the high school, and I said, there are students in there. She said that she would like to do it on a day, like a Act 80 day or something, so she doesn't have an audience while she's doing her assessment through the building.
okay. We have one coming up in October. So I let her know. Right, I did send her an email, so.
Maintenance there or something?
That was probably help her to schedule that anyway, that's something.
Yeah, if you could tell her that the date in October that that's available, she would probably want to schedule it then. She said she'll be taking pictures, for her appraisal. So she said, I really don't want a lot of people there while I take the pictures, because then it's hard for her to take the pictures with the whole crowd.
I'll email her tomorrow.
Okay. Saturday? Yeah, it's Saturday. No.
That's what I was thinking. Why can't she do it on a Saturday?
It might be you'd have to talk to her. I don't know how she's scheduled.
For, school, we're done at 2:30.
Yeah, you've done.
Right.
Unless there are practices.
I'll give her those options and let her say.
Can we follow up with an update then next meeting? We'll see what-
Yeah, we'll put it on.
Yeah.
Do we have to do change orders since we already did that?
I don't think so.
Anything else? Change orders we need to worry about? Okay,
No.
good.
They don't have any.
All right, business and finance, the GASB 75. He's not here, but, if you have anything on that, you can tell
I do.
us.
The board at the regular meeting should pass a motion accepting the receipt of the report. It is used to determine the liability based on various actuarial assumptions. And Northern Cambridge School District has to provide OPEB, other post-retirement employee benefits, mainly healthcare benefits for our current and retired employees. Our liability has decreased by $120,000. It does say that our liability is 3 million. That is not something that we owe right now. It's the computation and the best guess estimate of what future costs may be over many years. So this report is a result of that, and it's used by our CPA in performing our audit and issuance of financial statements. So it will be something I can put on the next meeting for the board to accept, receipt of the report.
You want to continue with the E-rate contract too?
Sure. The E-rate just provides us discounts for affordable internet access and telecommunications service. So this is a contract we do all the time with E-rate. We have someone else that bargains this for us. I don't know the specific amount. It may be in the contract. It does give the term 1 year, not to exceed 5. And it just gives us the best price that we can get from this.
Everybody go with that? It's a lengthy contract, that's why, an overview is fine. The PCCD grant, would you mind walking everybody through that?
Sure.
This is the application you sent us, right? It's on,
Yes.
it's attached.
Mhm.
Could you walk us through that a little bit? And then we do have a couple questions on how that works.
So basically what I've done is that this application there, it's a bit different than the other ones. This one, we're allowed to spend it on social and emotional needs as well as security needs. And we have $116,000, $116,158. So that was page 1 there. Page 2 of the contract shows what's being spent in year 1 or year 2. Notice that I put nothing in year 2, I put all the money in year 1. The budget details, it shows in year 1. So this will be for 24, I'm sorry. Remaining expenses in 24-25. So.
Can you hold on a second? If you guys want to follow along, that's page 34
Thank you.
of your
Trying to
things.
scroll.
Yeah, it's a little slow, so I think it's around page 34 and then down, I think.
Got it.
That way you can follow what she's saying. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So for our Giddings security guard, it will pay for the entire cost of the guard, $51,336. The previous grant we received, which was grant number, got 29,000 in a previous grant, PCCD grant, number 41538. I put that all towards an SRO. So that was only 29,959. So in this grant, this is the remainder of the salary for the SRO, 36,043. So between the two grants, it will pay completely for the SRO and the security guard for this school year. The mental health therapist, this is Lockard that we use. And this will pay, it will not be able to pay her entire rate, but it does cover some of it. And then I also included the therapy dog. Now, this can be adjusted, this can be changed. If you don't like where the money's being put, you want to put the money somewhere else, that's great. I just kind of put it in places where I thought you would want it to be spent.
Do you have to know that before you send the application in?
I can send the application in and I can update it as many times as we need. So if things change and you want to change it, we can adjust it.
How can we list the therapy dog when we didn't vote on that? That was the number up to the people.
Again, it's there, but it can be changed.
The name of the grant doesn't matter how we can use it, it's just they allow you to do it. Because it says school safety and security, Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. My biggest question was, how do you use it for a therapy dog and mental health therapist if it's a safety grant?
It can be used for both, and that was in the stipulations of the grant.
And Laura, is there, but do they say there's a maximum on the grant? I realize you're putting.
Yes, we only get our school, every school gets a different amount. I
Okay.
think you get a base amount of 100,000.
Okay,
And then based on the number of students you have, an additional amount, we get 160. That's our
So you
allotted
just-
amount.
yeah, okay.
Every school gets a different amount.
So pretty much you're just trying to show where you're gonna use the full grant at. It's,
Correct.
yes, just extra money at the end of the day, okay?
So it's a foregone conclusion that we'll get this money.
Yes.
If you show that you have use for it.
Correct.
Okay.
Like all government things, do you have to show that you spent it to get the
Yes.
same amount next year? Or more?
We don't know if we'll get the same amount. We do have to show that we spent it. We
Okay.
send in quarterly expense reports, quarterly program reports. I don't think this is something that the legislator will take away. Who wants to take away money from school safety? So I predict that we'll continue to get these grants.
Anybody else? Thank you for that. Oh, did you need, go ahead.
It's just coming to mind, are we ever, I don't know if the board or you or Rusty would consider getting metal detectors with this, once we get down to one building?
We could, I mean, if that was the board decision, the only thing is that they're very, very expensive. I could have written this for metal detectors. But then it won't be for anything else.
Right.
So I thought we would probably want to wait until we went to one security guard instead of paying for two when we're in one building, and then maybe look at using that. The last I looked, it will be at least 120,000 for metal detectors. they're very expensive. I'm looking at the portable ones that Forest Hills uses. Like, you can move them to different venues, you can move them to the gym, you can move them entrance here, you can move them down to the football field. Use them a variety of different places, but they are expensive.
I think metal detectors are great. My only fear of metal detectors is you get that rush of kids in the morning and
Well,
there's
that's,
a point where people just,
well,
we have so much time getting people filed in.
we went to Forest Hills to witness that, because that was our concern as well.
Oh.
And it did not take them that long. They had a system down. They didn't always use the same entrance. They didn't always use the metal detectors in the same entrance. Only the team that manned the metal detectors knew that. So sometimes they were at the student parking lot, sometimes they were at the bus parking lot. They used them, you know, variety of different places.
West Shamokin has walkthroughs.
Yeah, they do.
They used them
It would
last
go
night.
through last night.
So,
Yeah.
But it's a moving one too. though.
yeah, I mean, and if you would prefer as a board to spend this money on metal detectors, let me know and I'll rewrite the
See
rate.
what the cost first, what it entails, but, you know, we're not ready for that yet.
I agree. I just was, it came to mind and I thought we should.
It's a good idea.
When we're all in one building, I think
I
that would be the best.
I think
scenario
when
there.
we're in one building,
Especially if
This-
we're funneled through the office or something like that.
I think this situation, with two buildings would be.
So Giddings contract is on here.
yes,
When, do we just renew this? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, so. When will we receive the money for this grant?
Thanks.
I think we've already, we may have already had the money for the spring.
For this grant, okay.
It's very possible. No, I'm sorry, we do not have the money yet. I'd have to check with Roll.
Okay, because it's for 24, 25, right? It's not for
Correct.
25, 26?
Correct. Because there's no money left over.
That means we'd have to reimburse ourselves for that, right? Anything we did. Until we use it up, because you're not gonna get paid right away. It's not 51,000 tomorrow.
Right, that's where I'm just thinking in my head,
Yeah,
where's the money at?
I mean, we're allowed to show reimbursement of the monies we already spent.
Definitely offset.
Oh, yes, yes. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes. We can use the
because
money
sometimes
we
you
already
can't.
spent.
Right, that's why I'm asking. I
Yes,
wanna make sure that.
yes,
we're good.
yes.
Yeah,
That's a good.
biggest thing you gotta watch for special purpose money like this is if it's a cost that you're not going to have unless you have the money versus we know we're gonna have security, you know, we're going to, so this is just extra money to offset cost in essence that we're, it's not like we're not gonna hire an SRO if we don't have it.
Well,
It's never the intention.
and the issue with this, why we can do this is because the legislature just put in that we must have a security guard, one security guard on campus, we must. This, I'm saying, we have two buildings. So I'm doing this, I'm meeting, they have different levels of criteria, so I'm meeting that criteria, which allows us to do that. They could say in years to come, next year they could say, well, everyone's required to have a security guard anyway. So this grant has to be used for something in addition to. They haven't said that yet. So right now you can use this money for the security guards, so I figure we will. But again, if you want something different, I'll be happy to change it.
I just know with that, when you do, the metal detectors, it does slow down the kids, at some point. It would probably take about a half hour longer to get.
Oh. No, what did it take them?
It was maybe 15 minutes.
If that, the entire, I mean, they had 1,000 kids go through it.
Now, they're not wanding them, right? They're just walking through the portable
They
ones.
walked
Okay.
through, and there's some
Okay.
good stuff that they pulled their
Okay.
notebooks and things like that.
Right.
The kids were very trained as to what to do.
Okay.
It was very quick. It didn't slow the school day down. It didn't interfere at all. We were surprised, actually.
It's a shame, yeah.
Yes.
All right, the IGS contract now, we just had the presentation by, was it Trevor? Taylor. While he was doing that, my question about the supplier and the generator, I did email Roland to have him send a copy of an actual bill from one of the buildings to all of us. So you can see so we can see on the slip where it says generation cost and provider cost. And maybe we can actually just look at that a little bit. So it
Yeah.
should, hopefully he sends it to all of us. He's not here, but I did that while we were talking. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I did with that. Does anybody else have any questions on any of that?
No, I think what Taylor said is like Penn owns the line so that you get that distribution
Right,
charge.
I mean, if it benefits us to have a supplier other than Penelec, that's great. I just wonder why. You know, is it a law that we have to do it as a government entity? And I just didn't know
Yeah,
that.
no, it was a good question. I wouldn't, I'll be honest, I thought maybe because we were a public
Yeah.
institution, we had to, but probably we're just getting better rates because they have this huge consortium.
Yeah, that's very
They're-
possible. But I know in my office, they tried to do that a long time ago where I could pick, and I just went with Penelec as my supplier and generator, and I noticed no difference. It was just an extra fee that I would pay to somebody else through Penelec. So.
Yeah.
I just want to know if it was the same for here or, you know,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
switched-
private versus public, so.
yeah, you know, how it is, you switch it, then after 6 months, your rate, if you don't keep it
Yeah.
on it, your supplier.
Right, and there might
changes
be
your rate.
that, you never know about that, so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give us an example, and see, okay?
Yeah.
I have one question
Yeah.
there. When does our contract, our current contract with them expire? When are they looking to renew this?
You said September, I think you said that.
September.
Said September.
Because if we, it was signed for 3 years, because I feel like I was president when we ruled over this last time, because we all had questions. And I feel that was 3 years. I feel like you're right.
I've only been here
So
for,
is that 2 years that we're banking those?
I wasn't here, I don't know.
I wanted to
don't
say it
remember-
was-
I don't remember them being the supplier, that's my problem.
We all
So
had
maybe we
questions
just-
because it was a new group that came in
Yes.
and we
Yeah, that
rolled
might-
over this
that
like
might be that.
2 different meetings and I'm not talking solar, I'm talking this. And that to me was not 3 years ago. So could we please find
Good
out
questions.
if we are
I mean, you're
up
talking
for
about a lot
renewal
of
or are we
bills
just
here.
discussing it now for like 2 years out?
I don't
Because
know.
if that's the case, we might have to wait.
I don't know if you
It's
look at our bills
possible
every
we
month, but they're substantial.
We could lock the rate in a 3-year, but maybe every year we renew. It might be a renewal every year, but we can look at this contract.
Like a year ago. It can't be 3 years because this is like 2.5 years on the board for me.
And you guys weren't
And
here,
I
right?
was here when, because the whole idea of this consortium was new to me, so I do remember that, you're right.
Yeah, we might just need to ask Roland about that.
Yeah, I think he might be a little too
And
soon
informed
asking for
decision
that
might be a
renewal.
little better.
Unless they,
Unless
unless
want
there's
us to
something
lock
about
in,
when they lock
but
in
why?
before the contract start, I don't.
This is why, because he's getting 7 point some cents per kilowatt. That's why. And you see how much kilowatts we use in a month per building? They're big.
And that's going to change on
It
us
is gonna
too,
change.
so
Yeah,
if we're gonna
Yeah.
have a different
so,
total.
so anyways,
hopefully
for the
better.
next meeting, we'll try to find out a little bit better. Okay, anything else on that? Okay. On the community relations, we're gonna have a town hall Wednesday, September 11, 2024. Focus on suicide prevention and the elementary, and in this auditorium at 7 PM. Is PJ gonna be involved? in that?
Yes, he is going to present during that.
All right, Norm, you have nothing for curriculum instruction at this time?
No, I do.
Okay, what is it? All right,
Well, just something, the TSI that we talked about, the update at the state looking over our special ed program. You said you needed till October to check into that.
I'll have the plans for you at the next meeting. You reviewed them the last meeting, giving you more time. They were very lengthy, very long. So I'll have them on for a vote to accept the plans, and then we'll send those into the state.
Okay, are these plans, and I guess that's what I was confused about, are these plans directing us what we need to be doing?
These plans are making sure that we are focusing on our TSI groups. And basically, how are we making sure that we're pushing those groups towards growth? So I'm using the plans for my principals for their goals. So the principals are putting in, they're very nice because they force you to analyze your data. So you look at your future ready index, we look at all of our local data, PSSA Keystone scores. We then look at our strengths, we look at our concerns, or what they don't call it weaknesses, they call it maybe concerns. Some challenges, that's it, our challenges. And then you develop a plan of how you're going to address those challenges. That's what that plan lays out. So I'm using that for the principals as their goals for the year, how they're going to make sure that some of our challenges are addressed. And I also use those for the teachers in their SPMs, their student performance measures. So we pick, for example, one of the challenges at the high school is attendance. That's an area where we didn't do well. So one of the possible SPMs, student performance measures for the teachers, a choice is they can focus on attendance of students in their classroom. One of them is to use Linkit data for creating groups. So I do a lot of preset SPMs to kind of focus everything on our challenges as we're moving forward.
Okay, so you'll share more of that then?
I can share the plans again with you. You can review. You do have plans already.
Okay, well, and you were saying you had something to add to that because.
The
those
high
were
school
not-
one, we're still finishing. The high school's not a TSI designation. The middle school is, and the elementary is for the special ed group. The elementary, you have to turn that into PDE every year because it's a Title I school. It receives that federal money. So we have to show where all the federal money's going in that plan as well.
Anybody else on that? No? You good?
Yeah, I just wasn't, I knew there was something missing and I,
Okay, legislation policy development, you have all the policies that were provided to you in your thing. You can read over those. This is the first reading for those. I do have one, and I brought it to Toby's attention. Maybe he can guide us on that. It's the policy 252 on dating violence. My question was on that, if we all want to make sure that doesn't happen, but how are we going to regulate that and govern that if it does not happen in a school setting? I don't understand how we can control something, a dating violence, if it's not happening at a school function, on school property, somewhere like that, even though it might involve our kids. And we want to help as much as we can, because it says you're supposed to report it to your principal or your guidance counselor. But what happens if it happens at Myrtle Beach or something like that? How do we enforce?
So I think with that, I think it's just making sure the student gets help. If it's something that happened at Myrtle Beach and it was something that a student disclosed to me as a principal, I would want to make sure I called the parents. I would get them in touch with some counseling and if needed, even the SRO. So I think it's more about providing those resources, not so much that I'm going to try to discipline somebody from Myrtle Beach, but I'm going to provide those services for the student.
Yeah, it looks like there's procedures, complaint procedures and, requirements for the district if a student is convicted in a court of law or adjudicated delinquent. So it looks like it's just guidance for the district in regard to how a student could make a complaint and, what the district is supposed to do with those complaints rather than.
And this is one we already have. The only change is that it was changed. They added the word harassment.
Right. I just had that question because we all want to get them help, obviously. I'm not trying to take that out. I just wanted to know what our part is. How do we do that?
If there's a discipline thing to handle or something.
Yes.
It seems more like a conduit for reporting and getting help
Okay.
rather than
Right.
disciplining a student or
Right.
a third party for things that may have happened.
Okay, that answers my question then. Okay, good. And believe me, these are no fun to read. Okay, so all you guys can take a look at that. So there's one that's really lengthy and the changes on it. I forget which one it is, but they're no fun to read. All right, Title IX. Do we need to, there was one thing on Title IX. There was one paragraph in the Title IX explanation. And I gotta find it in the addendum, so please bear with me.
it's on page 118.
118. Okay, and it has to do with the bathrooms. For example, if a school maintains sex-separate restroom facilities, it must not prevent students from accessing the restroom consistent with their gender identity, because doing so causes them more than de minimis harm. Could you please explain that? So does that mean we have to allow kids that think they're a girl into a boys' bathroom or vice versa?
I think that's what it's saying. I'm not saying that's what will happen
I
here.
was gonna say, I'm not good with that.
No, I'm not good with that either. And that's not what we would do. So we have lots of single restrooms. And those would be the restrooms that we would encourage those students to use. We're not saying that this is something that we would do. This is part of the Title IX. And I'll have to say that I've come across this at different districts I've worked at. And luckily, I've never had a boy that identifies as a girl that wants to go into the girls' restroom and vice versa. Those students typically are very happy to use a separate restroom, however they identify or whatever. So I would say that we have to follow, we can't break federal law, but we certainly would encourage the use of our single-sex bathrooms.
In our new construction, do we have girls and boys designated bathrooms?
Yes, and single-sex ones. Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not good with a boy going into a girl's bathroom or locker room. Thank God. I hope that's gonna be prevented. So that was my concern over that Title IX. Okay, that, anybody have anything else on any of that stuff?
And Dr. Crowe, what we can do, I mean, we don't have to put those specifics in. We can maintain our policies that we have
Well, you said this is
And-
federal law.
and say that, and say with an agreement that we will always follow federal law.
Well, I
That's it.
think that if a boy identifying as a female wants to use a female's bathroom, I would definitely have a teacher make sure there's no female in that bathroom at the time. Or thing.
Luckily, I have never experienced that. And I've had transgender kids that I've dealt with, but I haven't had those issues.
That's just my concern.
But we do have gender neutral bathrooms.
Yes, we do. We do.
In the new construction,
Yes.
In that,
Right,
And
and
now-
we had bathrooms that became designated as gender neutral before the construction, right?
Yes, we have
Yes.
single, we were, yeah.
okay. We'll move to personnel. We have a resignation, we have to vote on it. And you can see, we just hired her last meeting. So I'll make the motion of a resignation by Miss Jenna Macaluso. Second by Mr. Mike Basil. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
And the next one is the grant tenure at the next meeting. You can see all their, I'm guessing they all have their 3 years in and all the satisfactory performance and all that stuff. You can see who they are. Okay? Item C, I guess we'll put that on too. Ignite Education Solutions, we're voting for substitutes, professional substitutes. You can see who they are. And I will make the motion to approve that list.
Second.
Here, Ms. Jenna. Any questions or comments? Anybody in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay. All right, Vector Online Training. You guys have that in your attachments? Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay, I do. Are they Act 48? Because the times are pretty short on some of these classes.
They can be Act 48 if we offer them as an Act 48. I want to use these first and foremost for Title IX training. The safety ones, I listed the several pages, and we actually get all of those classes. Eventually, we could also use these for our safety committee meetings that we have monthly. And Jeff would be able to use these. I haven't shared the list with him yet, but there's lots and lots of things on here that we can use. We also have, there's courses in here for students. So every so many years, we have to give youth suicide awareness prevention and postvention. That's actually something I could load to the students, push out to the students and have them do that as well. So it's for staff, it's for students, and it's a total of $1,600 for all those courses.
And that's per person or is that for the
That's
entire staff?
for the entire staff per year.
Do we have any questions on that? Good.
I would just say that if we choose to, if we vote to get this, could we, see a schedule of things that are gonna be offered and then maybe just, you know, cause,
Sure, how it's being used.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you mean the list of classes or how they're actually using? it?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
But just the one that we approved last meeting, that like $1,500 or something.
That was different.
That was continuing education, I think, for the,
That was for the teachers
To maintain
continuing
their-
education, and that's not.
they don't offer these types of stuff
No.
through that, okay.
No, they do
That was
not.
for their CP,
I asked.
okay.
And that was the IU, wasn't it?
Yes, Jolt.
Good.
Cool, thank you.
So, on here, I see there's a whole section for transportation. Would we be able to share any of this with our contracted transportation partners?
Sure.
So that
Maybe
anything
give
bus
us a little
drivers,
discount on something. Yeah,
it's a good idea,
you know,
because there's some things on here I think that maybe would be great.
and there's a lot of other, they have hundreds of other courses, but I'm just looking at this one section of it.
Everybody good? Okay. Student activities, anything, Mike?
Nothing.
Okay, we have a bus driver list a substitute bus driver list to approve. You can see them there. I'm guessing the clearances are all good on those people.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve it. Second by Mr. Daniel Hubert. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hey, athletic. Gymnasium dedication. Since you brought that up, Daniel, you go first.
I did, thanks. I feel like in our little town, we have a lot of challenges and we've always had challenges ever since the coal mine shut down. But I think that in that time, we've also found a lot of champions who've come forward to really help our school and help our students, whether it's, you know, the Spangler Ball Fields had, you know, Mr. Daisley and Mr. Verena and Mr. Nagel, and our school has had many different teachers who have touched the lives of lots of students. And so I feel like John Frantino was one of those people for a lot of us and for many generations of Northern Cambria alumni. And so just have a little write up here. Known to many as Big John, Mr. Frantino was an alumnus of Spangler High School in its football program. He attended Mansfield University, where he also played football. After college, he spent over 30 years teaching and coaching football and track. He was a high school football coach at Cherry Hill High School in New Jersey, Portage High School, and finally at Northern Cambria, where he was a biology teacher, athletic director, head coach, football coach, and driver's education teacher for over 20 years. During those years, he touched the lives of innumerable students on the playing field and in the classroom. He lovingly and thoughtfully designed the Letterman jackets that are worn by our Lettermen to this very day. He was an avid hunter and outdoorsman, spending over 30 years working alongside the Pennsylvania Game Commission in hunter education classes for students. His memory is cherished by generations of students he inspired over the years. There was never, and likely never will be, a greater champion for Northern Cambria and its students than Mr. Frantino. In the words of one of his student athletes, he was the epitome of a teacher, a coach, and an authentic human being. So tonight, I am asking that at our next regular meeting, we vote to officially name our new gymnasium, the building, not, you know, the gymnasium, the John A. Frantino Gymnasium. And I have spoken with his widow, Jeannie, and his nephews and his brother, and they are all just delighted that we would consider this honor for Mr. Frantino.
Okay, I have, John is a great pick, but one guy who's really touched a lot of kids too is Mr. Paul Arley. He's been here forever, and he's spent a lot of time in that old gym with a bunch of kids. I think he should warrant some consideration because he has been here forever. And there's not a group of kids that came through there that he didn't help or coach or something like that. So Mr. Paul Artley should be considered also, I think, for that.
I agree with you. He's fantastic. There will be other opportunities for naming in the gym, like the building would be one name. The court could be another name. People have brought up Mike Hogan. There are lots of different naming opportunities when you have a new facility, and the building can be one and the different areas within could be others. And like I said at the beginning, we have a lot of champions for our kids. And a lot of people complain about things in this town, but when our students in our school need something, we have people just come out of the woodwork, and we're very fortunate for that.
Do you think that this should be a decision that just the board should make, or should we actually ask the community at large? Good.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest, I think we should probably at least get input from the community, maybe even have submissions. Again, the school district has been here for many decades. I wouldn't know enough individuals that probably are deserving of it. I think, you know, John is up there at the top, obviously. Obviously, Mr. Hartley touched a lot of individuals. Mr. Hogan, because of, you know, you can't travel anywhere. And if you mention Northern Cameron Volleyball, our volleyball program is obviously known because of Mr. Hogan. So it would be good, I think, for something like this to probably get some public input. Obviously, it's a board decision. But to Danielle's point, which I thought that was very well written, you know, you could have a hallway that has a dedication of some type of naming that has, you know, pictures and things. We want to put some thought in this because it's something that is forever. But I think all these individuals, all these names I heard are deserving. There's probably many individuals I'm not aware of, because I didn't run in every sport that they necessarily had, but I think it's definitely warrants consideration somehow, maybe even solicit the public to submit submissions that we would then review as a subject, whatever.
I could do a survey. I could do a mail survey, I could do an online survey. If that was something, now that would cost money to do the mail, I think it's about. Maybe we spend about $5,000 mailing things.
My opinion is, I don't know if a survey is
I
as
don't-
much needed as, my thought is,
Okay.
it says you submit a submission, but something written in detail so that it's not, you know, I had this teacher, something that justifies why they would, because again,
So maybe a call for submissions or a call for,
just my opinion.
Or an announcement on the webpage even, like that we're considering.
Because again, there could be, to Danielle's point, you know, the floor could be named something versus the gym itself versus, you know, whole, whatever, something that has, hallway that has a
like
memorabilia, champion hall, yeah,
right,
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of opportunity to do with it.
And maybe
I
we
think John's extremely, deserving, so.
take a look at the plans and see what areas we could put up for.
I would love to see all three of them, because I know Mr. Hartley, I worked with him on the Parks and Recreation Committee. He was on that committee for 70 years.
Yep.
Like,
Forever. I mean, he's
he
synonymous
only
with that.
resigned just because he just wants to spend time with his grandchildren.
And he was still subbing
still
for it.
subbing.
Subbing here today,
Yeah.
my son, who's 6, knows who
Did he
is,
come back
so-
this year too?
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
that's,
I mean,
that
it's,
to me
that's
says a
commitment,
lot.
obviously, the school district, so. Yeah.
My only suggestion is I know it would be great. I mean, John's a great guy. I've known him for a long time. But, you know,
He was our neighbor.
He was our neighbor. But I just think maybe next meeting might be a little bit too soon.
Yeah.
Let's just have a plan, because we don't want to let people out that really are deserving, and we do it the right way. You know what I mean? That's all.
Should we look at the plans and see the
Absolutely.
building plans to see what areas, because I know we're gonna need. We're gonna need a hallway for Mr. Hogan's stuff that's already at the high school. It has to be prominent.
And that was part of my question. We have a whole bunch of Heritage Conference plaques that are sitting up on that wall. What are we gonna do with all that stuff? We should put it somewhere. We don't want to just throw it in the trash.
Oh, no, I'd love to have like a champion hall, and if you go
Yeah.
to, I love doing, so.
So
when I go
that,
do
that would be a good idea to have a plan and see what we can name the names of all that stuff and get a little bit of community input with that kind of stuff.
And I'm
Because-
thinking, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm thinking we should start thinking about it sooner than later, because buying signage is gonna be coming up quickly and just.
And committee of some sort.
Our library was dedicated to Mr.
Okay.
Sam Rockville.
Is PJ coming back? Because he only showed up for one meeting in the last 7 or 8.
I don't know that concern.
So, I mean, I hate to leave out the chair and that kind of stuff, but if he's not gonna come, why? You know what I mean? So, committee's fine, but I don't wanna leave out the chair if he's gonna be here.
Right.
So I haven't heard from him. So, I don't know. I know he's busy. I know he's moving but, so if you guys wanna, and you've done a lot of work with that, that's fine. You wanna do that, or just involve the community. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I remember John coming down doing a speech at a football team that, once a year and they give them a plaque. I mean, it was impressive, his speech. And so, yeah, they're all
Very sick.
historically, yeah. So, okay.
Okay, we'll do that.
Great.
I just, maybe next meeting's too quick. Okay. All right, football stadium grant. I think you had a question on that grant. Did we receive any matching funds?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
we put up 50,000.
So we put up $50,000 so that we could apply for a grant and get a match. Can you tell me where that is, where it sits in the budget, and did we get anything back as a match?
I sent you a email that showed that we did not get the grant. We didn't send the $50,000 anywhere. We still have the
Do we have it budgeted specifically for our
I think
football
it's just
field?
in general.
That's where I was asking, like in the budget, and that's a better question for Roland to answer,
Yes.
but I know he's not here, so I'll direct it to you.
My guess it's in general fund, but I can double check.
Yeah, I just want to know what happened to it because we saved it aside because we needed to, or at least said we were willing to
I'm
spend that.
not opposed to still spend 50 grand on football. Though.
Yeah, I think when we.
No, I'm still, but I'm
I think the
disappointed we
commitment
didn't
was
get.
just, we couldn't get the grant unless we were willing to match the
Right,
funds if we,
Right,
but the.
but the wording of the grant was we had to establish,
So we got refused.
Yes,
why?
it said there was well written, there was a
But-
thing, in it says it was, it's toward the end of the agenda. It's like-
Inform you that you're proposing.
Yes.
They were more deserving than we were.
Right.
Going up.
Okay.
Okay,
See, it was a
Volleyball.
It was a
It's a nationwide grant. It wasn't.
chiropractic services. We've had a request for a company to come in and provide treatment to the athletes on Mondays and Thursday evenings at the gym at a reduced rate. I do have, of course, I'm gonna comment on this. I had a tremendous fear of us becoming a healthcare facility. And this is exactly what this is providing healthcare at our facility. My biggest concern is, if, in essence, we would be a satellite office for them on Monday and Thursday. And not that I don't want to help them out, because I know Dr. Ludwig is an alumni here, but we are providing services at our school. And I think that's a bad idea.
So I, only comment I have is just that if you have insurance, this could be less, might be less to go with your insurance. We're not gonna be an insurance provider here.
We're not paying, the boosters are paying. So this costs the school nothing.
Like for this in Village. Well, I don't know, Dan, you.
Yeah, so Coach Judy just brought this to me and I obviously presenting it to you guys. So it's not Monday and Thursday. We're still, that's what it said in the agenda. It's going to be one or the other. So when we say it'll either be Thursday night before a football game or Monday after a football game, Dr. Ludwig, approached Coach Judy about it. Like Dr. Sonic said as well, it's something that is going to be, booster paid for. No cost to the district. There are waivers set up that the kids sign. I've talked to some of the kids about it, and they've already said, like, my mom's not gonna let me go to a chiropractor, so it's totally just an option for the kids if they want to use it. It's not like we're lining every single kid up from running back to line, back to back. It's just an option for kids, because if something happens to a chiropractor in town that they can go to anymore, it seemed like services weren't available to some kids that used to be available, so that's why we're bringing this in, that's why it was approached to us.
Am I wrong in my concerns? That we are a satellite office if that happens?
That's up to you guys. If that's your concern, that's your concern.
Okay,
It's a board decision.
okay, I expressed my concerns, you guys, it's up to you guys. But
Yeah, the only couple comments I had is, I was surprised at the number of students they could get in within an hour and a half based on what it said in it said like 18 students in an hour and a half. I was like, with that, I would think it would be maybe $15 a pop. It was like 25 or something. Again, there's no cost to districts. So I'm not against it by any means. I think, again, to me, it's a health thing that we're not offering as a responsibility or financial obligation. I mean, it's kind of like when we used to do, when we were kids, we had to take those dental pills for your teeth.
Yeah.
What was it, the fluoride, terrible fluoride things? Yeah, it's terrible. So just think of that, it comes to my mind, I used to hate those things. But anyway, again, if we're offering it and we're just allowing it to occur, I personally don't have an issue with that. I think it's, extra help to the kids as long as they're, I'm just curious if the boosters, I guess, is gonna evaluate with, you know, the coach is gonna say where they're needed, so it's really out of our hands of what they're spending it on, so I don't necessarily have a concern about it.
I have one comment. Most of these kids are minors. And I know with our kids, I've had to sign for everything that any doctor they've ever done until they're of age 18. So most of these kids are minors, so you have to involve parents. You can have parents in a line as well, waiting to be with their kids to be seen because they need their parent to be there.
It does say in the letter, each student participant, as well as minor, they need a consent form.
Yeah, but is the
Without the
form
parent
enough?
having to be present. So parents will be there or else they need the consent form.
Yeah, it's enough, because the kids can come to an office on their own, as long as their parents are okay with it. But yeah, but
Would he like bring the table, like, does he have like a,
Yeah, he would bring all the equipment necessary or something.
it would be a collapsible table.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, you guys want it on the agenda?
To vote.
I'm fine with it.
Okey-dokey. Put it on the agenda. Did he approach you guys, or did Sam approach him? Did Evan approach them?
It looks as if Evan approached them, but I don't know the history of it.
I think so as well. Evan was here during a Act 80 day. You know, Dr. Fitz?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
He
we had
came in. And
for the
offering that
teachers, did some
yeah. So I think he-
massage therapy.
Yeah, he just looking to expand his business a little bit.
All right, we'll put it on. All right, volunteer coach. Hiring, as a volunteer assistant coach, Brendan McCracken. I will make that motion. This is for volleyball. Yes.
Correct.
For volleyball.
Yeah.
I made the motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mike Hoover, or Mike Bath.
Sitting.
Mark.
I'm telling. Any questions or comments on that? Okay,
I'm gonna guess it's just for like riding the buses or shopping.
well, it definitely helps, but you can't, the head coach or the coach, the paid coach has to be with him. He can't do that by himself
Right,
as a volunteer.
He has his clearances. Yes.
Yes. They're actually, I have them here.
Okay.
To see them.
All in favor?
Bye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
All right, soccer season, do you need to say anything on that there, Pajak?
We gave it a shot. You know, I was just upset, you know, we ended up with probably 7 kids that was with the co-op at Penn Manor. There was Dabble homeschool kids as well. I had a District 6 meeting today with other athletic directors and kind of threw some ideas out there, trying to start a co-op for soccer kids that are left. As for soccer in Northern Cambria, we'll reassess closer to the season, but if this is something that we're going to do, I'll probably go to try to do it sooner than later. I don't want to run into this again, because there's a lot of things that go into it. You know, there was 18 games that I gave away. You know, we had 3 with United, 3 with Cambria Heights. Luckily, they were all able to fill those games that we left a void for that, but it's unfortunate. That's all.
Okay, I would be interested in knowing the costs that we have. What is the cost that we are in default of the program?
I
Like
For
how the
this
coaches-
year?
Yes,
Is it,
We didn't pay the coaches.
okay, but we're obligated to. Or are we not?
No,
only
Okay.
contract is signed.
Okay.
they didn't sign a contract, so. So we didn't put any money towards that.
Okay, so we have no coaches up and. Okay,
very good?
Yep.
Okay. We're gonna go into executive session. And we'll be resolved, the Board of Education will enter an executive session at 7:48 PM to discuss litigation, contract, students and personnel. We will not be voting on anything when we come back out. Okay, so I'll make the motion. Is that you, Jen?
Yep.
So motion, Jen Dentroff. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor?
bye.
Anybody opposed? I don't, is that done recording?
No.